On this episode of Game Shack, I'm going to look at the year that was for AtGames Video Company. I'm going to tell you how I thought they did in the year 2021 and how I think they're going to do in the year 2022, and give you some predictions for how this company is going to go and are they going to survive the three-quarter scale arcade wars. All that and more coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on back into the Game Shack. I'm your host for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com, JDV. Thanks for stopping by. It really does mean a lot to us. If you haven't already checked out my video on the year's summary and review of Arcade 1-Up, please check that out up there. It might give you some more insight into the things I'm going to say in this episode. Also, I have reviewed a lot of the products that I'm going to talk about in this video, including the ALU, the ALP, the control panel for their pinball game, the Legends Flashback I talk about a little bit in the video. So anyway, there's a lot of information on this channel about AtGames product if you are interested in actually buying any of them. So I wrote down just some of the things that they came out with this year, and this is not all of them. They came out with a bit pixel marquee for the ALU and for their virtual pinball game, the ALP. They have a very nice pinball control panel for their pinball game. Check out my review of that up there. They came out with a not quite as nice, but still very serviceable wireless controller that you can use on their core puck system. They will also work on the pinball and ALU games. They came out with the Legends Pinball Kit for the ALU. They came out with a smaller version of the ALU Mini, which you could buy in a Tetris branded skin if you wanted to. They announced the 4-player controller deck, which they were, I think, originally going to shoot that for this year. I think it's going to come out in the first quarter of 2022. There are kits to hook up a PC to your ALP if you want to play pinball that way. There's all kind of very nice hardware that's come out from AtGames, and yet maybe the biggest surprise of 2021, or certainly one of them, was the massive success of AtGames' legendary pinball game nicknamed the ALP. For $750, I think that's what it's going for now. It just simply destroys what you can get from Arcade 1-Up. It has a bigger screen, it has an interactive backboard, it has that ability to go ahead and put a control panel in, and perhaps most importantly, it has over 120, I think they're up to almost 150 now, games that you can get on that table via a wireless download with their Wi-Fi system. AtGames is very good at listening to their fan base and very good about trying to support the fan base, both just with contests, firmware updates, and things like that. Their Customer Appreciation Day, which now they have twice a year, is a very nice thing. So if you want to buy the products but you can't quite afford them, wait to these Customer Appreciation Days, which really you can get some really good deals. All of that is to the good and help make it a really banner year for 2021 for this company. And I think really you could argue they had even better year than did Arcade 1-Up, although clearly Arcade 1-Up did right to ship by the time the year ended. So in terms of negatives, are there any? Well, I'd say yeah, there are some negatives from AtGames that they need to overcome. Some of them they already know are there. Some of them I know they're working on. Some of them they might not be able to do. First thing is user interface. I think anybody who's used the ALP or the ALU knows that it's a clunky user interface. Oddly enough, it's clunkier than other things that they've put out, like the Legends console has a very nice user interface. I'm not sure why they didn't use something more along those lines. I know they're working on it, and I know eventually we'll see one. Whether or not we'll see a better user interface in 2022, I'm not sure, but I know they are working on it. I would love to be able to see the ability to play other players online the way you can do on Big Blue, and what we presume you're going to be able to do on the iArcade in 2022. I think that would be an important step forward, and really it is frustrating that you can't do that now. I do hope that they do something a little bit better with these firmware updates. Having new firmware updates is good, of course, except for when they're bad. The biggest example I can think of that in 2021 is there was a firmware update for the ALP which essentially changed it from, if you have all your games on your machine, you'd never had to hook up to the internet if you didn't want to. Now you have to be connected to the internet and you have to sign in before you can play the non-Gottlieb tables. And that is a massive pain in the butt. I power everything down here. I unplug everything all the time because we have wild power fluctuations, which means that I have to re-sign in almost every single time. It also means I have to have access to the internet, and I don't always have access to the internet where I am at, which means I can't play the vast majority of my tables on the Alp. Well, I sure wish that they had told me that in the firmware update before I did that. So I think we need to see some better communication on these firmware updates from AtGames before people maybe do something that they're not going to be happy with down the line. Lastly, I think that this company, and this is the biggest problem that AtGames really has moving forward, is the fact that they have not added any new A-list IPs, intellectual properties, to the ALU in some time now. While there are a lot of great games on there, I think they have 300 games now if you buy it new, and they do have their unpopular arcade net. We have not seen something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or Simpsons or Battletoads or a lot of things that a lot of people would like to see on the ALU. We have not seen them released yet in terms of game packs or a la carte gaming. And I think that that is a big negative, that moving forward it's going to be hard to generate continual interest from people who've already bought them if you're not adding at least some new IPs some of the time. And I guess that would be the thing that maybe could kneecap AtGames the most, is the inability to get A-list new games for the Alp, for instance. There's no Addams Family, there's no Lord of the Rings, there's no Terminator. The really big name tables besides those older Gottlieb tables are not available, and that is a negative for that machine. Yes, there's a whole bunch of tables you can buy for them, but a lot of them are very, very similar. They play very much the same. So if you have one Zaccaria game pack, you don't really need the other two. I mean, yes, there are better games in each one of those packs, so you gem, but a lot of people, you buy one pack, okay, you're done. Same thing on the ALU. There's a lot of great games on there, but there hasn't been any new great games. And to me, that is a problem moving forward, and it's a problem I don't know that they can solve. So that kind of goes right into my predictions. What is my predictions for 2022 from AtGames? Well, clearly they're going to keep on putting out new hardware and new things that'll help make your pre-existing machines seem cooler. That 4-player controller deck is probably the most interesting one. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw that a little bit more attention paid to the ALU Mini with different type skins, burger time, things like that. But the biggest thing I hope happens, and I'll go ahead and predict it, I predict that at some point in 2022, AtGames is going to announce a la carte gaming. I think at this point they have to. Not only is their main competitor in terms of multicades, iArcade, already doing that, they have many, many more units out in the field, which presumably should make it easier for them to license these bigger A-list titles, hopefully some from the 90s. So you'd think that it would be possible. Clearly they have the engineering firepower to make it possible in terms of setting up a store and everything like that. So if I had to make one guess as to a major change that we could see from AtGames in 2022, it would be the addition of a la carte gaming, and maybe at the very end of 22 we will see the announcement of an ALU 2.0. Okay, so that's going to wrap up this episode of Game Shack. I think our AtGames had a really, really good 2021, and I hope they build on the success from this year and have an even better 2022. They're really cool guys over there, and I know they are working hard to make the products that they do put out the best that they are. So I do wish them the best of luck coming up in the next year. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up on the way out the door. It really does help this channel. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to get notified when new videos like this drop. Love each other. And until next time, I'll be seeing you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah! Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.